Mr. President, I take this time to urge my colleagues to support Senate Joint Resolution 52, which would reinstate the free and open internet. I thank my colleague, Senator Markey, and others for bringing this to our attention. It deals with the Congressional Review Act to block a regulation that has been suggested that would repeal the protections we have on the free internet. So let me just give you a little bit of background here so we can put this in context. Internet service providers, known as ISPs, are basically utility companies that provide internet service to our constituents, to our businesses, and to America. Without the protection for net neutrality, these utilities have the ability to block or throttle content in the internet, or charging what is known as being in the fast lane, charging more. So this is a debate between whether we are on the side of the big utility type companies that provide internet service, their special interest, or the individuals and small businesses of America to guarantee them equal access to this critical service. So let me just give you one example, and there are many that can be given. I'm sure that in every one of our communities we have a lot of small businesses, and they recognize that they can now do business on the internet, and they have an opportunity to compete with the large companies that do most of their business through the internet. So in Baltimore and Maryland, I have small shop owners. One that I am particularly familiar with sells bikes. And this shop owner now is using the internet in order to get to customers so that he can show his wares on the internet and be able to compete against one of the large giant retailers that does a lot of business on the internet. Now, if a consumer in Baltimore goes on to that bike shop's website, and if the product that consumer is interested in won't pop up within a couple seconds, the consumer is gone, There's been study after study that shows that about 3 seconds is the maximum attention span of a consumer on shopping on the internet. Now, the large store that has access to the fast service broadband will have an incredible advantage over our small businesses if we allow the utility that provides the internet service to discriminate against the smaller users. That's what this debate's about. It's about protecting individual consumers, and it's about protecting small businesses. There's a reason why in 2015 the Open Internet Order was passed to protect these utilities that provide internet service from blocking or slowing down internet service. Broadband internet service is a public utility. It's interesting that almost half of the consumers have no choice in who they have to provide their internet service. They have basically one internet provider to choose from. Competition does not exist. So this is not a matter of competition. This is a matter of preventing discrimination. I had the honor of being the ranking member of the Small Business and Entrepreneur Committee. And I can tell you on behalf of the small businesses in Maryland and around the nation, on behalf of farm owners around the nation, they need to have access to the internet, and they depend upon net neutrality. 56% of the small business owners oppose the FCC's repeal of net neutrality. 70% of small business owners feel that they are at a disadvantage compared to a large corporation due to their size and market power. The internet gives them that capacity to try to equalize that disadvantage. John Duda is co-owner of Red Emma's, a cooperative bookstore and restaurant in my hometown in Baltimore. He summed it up best by saying, "I don't have the money to pay an internet service provider to guarantee my website will load quickly for all users. So I am concerned the end of net neutrality means customers will buy from retailers that have the resources to pay for faster service. Additionally, if my internet service provider slows load times for or blocks access to my web content, we'll be up against more than just larger booksellers or restaurants. We're suddenly competing against any website that loads quickly, because those are the ones that will draw people's attention. Mr. President, this is a matter of economic survival for small businesses. And it is a matter of having, it's one thing, everybody wants to make sure they have access, that we have the superhighways for broadband. We have that in Maryland, and we need the last mile to make sure you can get connected. Yeah, absolutely. And we got to do more to make sure that all communities have access to internet service. But like healthcare, if you don't have quality care, access is not going to help you. You need to be able to have reliable broadband service. Net neutrality has lowered the barriers to starting and growing a small business, and that's undeniably good for our economy. We all brag about the fact that small businesses are a growth engine of America, more jobs created by small business, innovation, et cetera. Well, let's make sure that we give small business what they need. Let's preserve net neutrality. As the FCC Commissioner Jessica Rosen-Warsall put it, for the first time, small businesses could think big and consumers could shop small from anywhere in the world. Think about that for a moment. Small businesses can think big because they have access to the internet, and consumers could shop anywhere in the world and shop in small companies anywhere in the world. The loss of net neutrality jeopardizes that progress. In every state, community, and home across our nation, Americans expect water coming out of their tap to flow on demand and be safe to drink. They expect the lights in their homes to go on thanks to the utility company that provides the electricity. And yes, they not only want but need to have access to broadband internet in the very same way. This is a utility, and they need to be regulated as such. These providers should not have the last word in what any American can see on the internet. Access to the information vital for our democracy and our economy to function must be preserved. Congress has a chance to put consumers and small businesses first and prevent the FCC from bowing to corporate interests instead of serving the public interest. I urge my colleagues to vote for SJ Res 52. With that, Mr. President, I would suggest the absence of quorum.